Hello and welcome back to the Matt Bellamy Muse Guitar Rig podcast with me, Harry, and
Myself, Josh.
I don't know if that's down to the time delay or if Josh, you just waited for me to introduce you again.
I think it's the time delay because I feels quick to me. But
No, all right, that was like a vast chasm of time for me. I think I could have watched Lord of the Rings within that time. So in this episode, we are going to be talking about one of the greatest tours that Muse has ever done, the Second Law tour. So, I hope you can detect the sense of sarcasm within my voice. The brilliant album that is Second Law. Not one of those songs is badly produced or sounds terrible.
I mean, yeah, do you know what? You know what I like about the Second Law tour. I mean, if it has any saving grace, is that it is it Muse? No, not really. I mean, well, it is. I mean, they made it, but I mean, is it Muse as we know them? Probably not.
It's Muse, but not as we know them.
Yeah.
I think this album it built very much on what Resistance had done, but just like more so. So it was it was very much if U2 and Queen had a baby.
There is a lot of U2 and Queen, isn't there? Yeah, I think
there are songs that I absolutely adore in this album. Big Freeze is my favorite from the album. I really like the edge type guitar tone in there, and the structure, the sounds, and the song. Great, fantastic, utterly brilliant. But I don't quite understand Follow Me.
Yeah, you know what? I think they Follow Me is kind of like that sound, that song that they always have on the album. Like you got Follow Me. There's a few on this album actually, because you've got Madness. I think that kind of falls into that same kind of category where it's quite poppy, it's quite mainstream. But then you've also got, like, even when you went to like Simulation Theory, we had like Get Up and Fight. There's always that kind of song in there. It just seems to be a running theme with them. And the thing is, I think they're kind of producing it like, if there's the off chance that it just blows up because we've made it for with a chart-esque sound to it.
I know what you mean, but around the time of the making of The Second Law, there was a photo taken of Matt and Jared Leto. I was going to say Gerard, but it's with a J. Jared Leto. And Follow Me just has that 30 Seconds to Mars pop finish to it. Like I think 30 Seconds to Mars' first album, like the kind of like the metal-y one. It's not metal, but it's got some nice sounds to it. I like that album, and the second album, can't remember what it's called, is pretty good. It's got some good sounds in there. Some of them are a bit naff, and then it fell off a cliff when they were just like, right, I'm gonna do pop. That as Jared Leto was thinking.
Yeah.
And there was the backing vocals in Follow Me had that 30 Seconds to Mars sound to it.
Definitely. I think it was a good use of, like, Matt showing off his range, like his vocal range, because those notes that he's screaming out, at the end, are really. I mean, he's a tenor, isn't he? Like a very high tenor, but I mean, he's the vocal capability you need to have to actually hit those notes is. I mean, that's pretty good.
I'm not knocking the technical achievement of it. I think it's really good, but as a song, I think it really kind of like.
As a song, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and other albums that I think work really well. Obviously, Animals. I think very few people would disagree with that. I think.
Yeah, I think with Animals, it's just so every track on this album, it's so different to what Muse has done before. But I think that's always been a theme with them, isn't it? They've always kind of reinvented the wheel every time they've made a new album.
Very true.
But I think it's so different to what they'd usually do. But when I listen to it now, I do like it, and there's plenty of songs that I've listened to on The Second Law when it first came out. And I remember the day that I listened to it for the first time, and I just thought, you always get that sense of I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed, but
Yep.
it's crazy how these tracks kind of grow on you over time, and you kind of if when you listen, because I think I'm not sure what it does really, but I think it creates a sort of sense of separation where you start to appreciate the song rather than
The body
you
of
kind of
work.
associate, or even just you associate, oh, it's a good song, but it's Muse and it doesn't sound like Muse, so therefore I don't like it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes,
So
yes, yes, yes.
it kind of creates that separation. And I think that it always tends to happen on, especially their later albums. That has been a kind of reoccurring pattern, but I don't think it's unlikely that we'd probably get a day like when Black Holes came out and you just like every single song on the album, and every single song on the album just sounds, well, that's Muse.
Yeah, no,
you
no,
know
absolutely. I think those previous albums, what they had going for them is that it worked as a body of work, as an album
yeah
together, solid, that narrative, that through line, and they also worked as songs individually as well.
yeah
Whereas the Second Law, I would argue, the vast majority of these songs work on their own, right? They do well in setting that scene, but I
yeah
don't think that as collectively they work. Now, obviously, there is that theme of the second law of thermodynamics, where they're talking about climate change, they're talking about economies and so on.
yeah
But Follow Me, it doesn't follow that narrative. It doesn't.
no yeah and
Madness isn't that. And the two
Madness doesn't either.
and the two songs that Chris did, "Save Me" and "Liquid State," those are songs about him and alcoholism. So you have to pull those out. So we've already got like
Yeah,
30%
four
of the
songs.
album
Yeah,
isn't anything to do with the theme that they're trying to talk about.
yeah.
Survival was just about the Olympics.
So it was just the Olympics. They just threw it on the album because they'd made it in the same year, I suppose. I mean,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it had no real place being there, did it?
No, it
Like,
didn't, and I think those elements really affected the pacing and the overall feel and the finish of the second law.
yeah,
So the songs that I actually enjoy listening to is from the majority of them. So just from top to bottom, Supremacy I enjoy, Panic Station I enjoy, Animals I enjoy. Every Other Day I enjoy, Explorers. If there was like a rock version of it with like more guitar, I probably enjoy it even more. But I dig the piano vibe. Big Freeze, obviously. Liquid State to an extent in some ways, and I do enjoy Unsustainable.
yeah,
It's not to say I don't like the album. It's just I think, yeah, it got away from them.
yeah. No, I think that sums it up pretty well. I agree. Yeah,
I will finish it there, though, as this whole podcast episode, as opposed to talking about the effects he was using to make this questionable album, turns into a review of the album. Any final words on your impromptu review of the album? I think maybe this then calls for us to do podcasts on reviewing each of the albums as well. I'd be up for that.
yeah. I think so. Yeah, I think it'd be. I mean, if anyone's listening, there, yeah, let us know. Yeah, definitely.
Let us know in the comments below. So yeah, in this episode, for however long it takes us to do, we will be talking about the live effects that Matt was using for the Second Law tour, from the pedalboard to the amps and the effects pedals. This was the first tour that Matt started to use Kempers, so starting
Yeah.
to bring in amp emulation, or like amp synthesis, however you really want to call it, was starting to come through. The idea being that you've got one unit, one box that's got all the amps in the world in it, and here's an excuse to have two or three in one rig. Bit weird, but you layer the amps. Are they good? Are they not? It's in the eye of the beholder.
Absolutely, as always.
As always, but we will get to it when we get to it. And speaking of, as always, let's start with the pedalboard. Josh, kick us off. What rack-mounted tuner is Matt using?
Let's have a look, because I did have the page and then it just mysteriously disappeared. There we go. So for the pedal board, we have got we got the Korg tuner. I think that just carried over from the Resistance tour.
Yes, the DTR 2000 rack-mounted tuner was the same one as the previous one, which actually was a different one from the Black Holes tour. The Black Holes tour was the one that was kind of had been used in the Absolution tour, which is the DTR2 tuner. At
Yeah.
some point during the Black Horse tour, the DDTR 2000 was brought in, but probably more towards the
The
end.
end, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, quite possible.
at least between 2006 to 2007, there was a change. I always thought the Rocktron had changed as well. There's the just because of the color seemed to differ between 2006 and 2007. There was like a darker blue in 2007
Yeah.
onwards, but that might just be me being mad. But yeah, that tuner, as the joke goes, it is so critical to that Muse tone.
Yeah, our running theme throughout this, isn't it?
We're not sponsored by Korg. We're just big fans.
Yeah, they make great tuners, you know. I think it's like, how do you make a great tuner? I mean, it does, as long as it does tune the guitar, then
Well,
it's kind of hard to. I mean, the room for competition is small.
I mean, there is an argument for it. I mean, I think there is discussion with some people. Sorry, my chair needs to move around a bit. There is an argument from some people that some tuners are, less in tune than others. Or some sort of Animal Farm reference, or that they are more accurate, which is true. Those cheap, shitey clip-on tuners that you put on headstocks of guitars are, I think, terrible. They're a convenience, but I don't think they're that accurate compared to one that you plug in.
Yeah. I think, and then you got like different displays and things. Like I really like it if you've got a some form of graphical like needle that shows you how close you are to being on tune.
Yes.
Like even some iPhone apps have that. Like if you're tuning like an acoustic guitar and you just need one quick and you're at a friend's house or something, it's pretty handy to have. And you can just see like how close you are to the line. Yeah, I think that that's the only room for competition with tuners.
Is how do you measure it? Are you a kind of a lines getting in? Although there's that one brand that has like swirling circles, and the slower they swirl, the more in tune you are. Just because it's just showing you like beat frequencies. I'm like, just tune the fucking thing.
I've just got an image of the Korg tuner department. And then all just
75 people go, quick, cut, go.
Yeah, just all sitting around having conversations, playing paper footballs, asking about see the football last night.
Yeah, no, that would be an example of people trying to justify their own work. Like the eternal, like, constant pointless software updates, but in tuners. Now it's
exactly.
This summer, even more in tune. The Korg DDTR 2001.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we've got a tuner, guys. There you go. We've got a tuner on the pedalboard, and and actually, it's a good start.
It's a good start, and also this tour, Matt needed a tuner. There was a performance. I don't know which one. A performance of Survival. That his 7-string was just completely out of tune, and it just sounded awful.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that. I can't remember which gig it was, though.
Actually, I'm going to find out right now.
You got to find out. I'll carry on. So we've got the Liquid Foot Pro, and the name is a bit weird. It's LF plus Pro plus MIDI controller. So I think, what are they referring to there? I think they're referring to, because he had a smaller unit, didn't he? He had the main, I mean, if you've seen this Liquid Foot Pro, I mean, I'm sure you'll put an image in, Harry.
I will put an image. Yeah, there is an eagle eye view of the of this. Yeah. It's quite low res, but it does show that it's just the big main one, the mic stand, the Boss. Spoiler alert: Boss expression pedal, and then the smaller one. It looks so unergonomic.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, it's just I can't believe. I mean, when you look at the main unit. That's just got to be. The MIDI controller is huge. It's got to be like one of the biggest MIDI controllers you've ever seen in your life.
The only one that's bigger is the one that the Edge uses, which is about 4 acres big.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they had to. That's why they have to play big stadiums, isn't it? So you can get pedalboard.
so it fucking fits.
Yeah, I find it just. Oh, good. I find it ironic and just quite. Hilarious as well that he's got that huge MIDI controller and he's thought, nope, I need more buttons.
Yeah, it's still not enough.
He's added the Liquid Foot Junior which is obviously the smaller one you can see over the other side of the expression pedals, and
So
it just more buttons, more buttons.
and I don't know what that smaller one does.
I think it's just an extension, perhaps.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, why extend it? The main one has already 7 preset buttons on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm wondering whether, because
looking at the image, this eagle eye view image of it, you can see that it's not lighting up, but you can see the lower row is coloured in slightly differently. The first preset is enabled, so it's lighting up green. And then the ones above it are different colours. So as it's always been, you've got presets and then you've got buttons for pedals, like using it as a virtual pedal board. Right?
Yeah.
That's how it's been done. But looking at the smaller unit, it looks like, to me, that all of those, apart from like the page up, page down function button or whatever, so you've got 9 buttons that look like they are just... virtual pedal board buttons.
Yeah.
They're not presets. So it's like even more on the fly options. Bizarre.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, whatever he was doing here was also transferred over later to the RJM units, the GT22s, which obviously we'll get to, which come on the next tour. But
tune into stay tuned in, subscribe for the next episode.
Absolutely, you don't want to miss that one. But I think whatever setup he's got has been carried over, because he's got certain sections, so he's got certain effects in blue. So blue is generally the amplifiers, or it was on the RJM units anyway. So I believe that would have been the amplifiers, and then he's got like the purple buttons, which would have been the effects. I think it was slightly different for the second Law tour, probably because they were just trying to, play around with it. And it's the first MIDI controller he's had that's had these kind of LCD screens on them. I think that's really when they first started to come about, because MIDI controllers before that were, as we've seen, just really buttons with lights to indicate whether it's on and off. So yeah, I think this is when they first really started to come about. But I've always questioned. I mean, it's probably me with my bad eyesight, to be honest. But I mean, I've used these like pedal boards, and I can never really see what's on them unless they're big enough. And I think with the LCD displays on the Liquid Foot Pro are so much smaller and less bold than the RJM. I'd probably struggle to really see that. And I'd argue that, are they really necessary? Because, you just kind of learn, whether you're learning your pedal board, where you're stepping, and you just kind of learn that, the position, and when to turn it on. Do you know what I mean? You know where your foot's going, if that makes sense. You don't really look down and pay too much attention to it.
I think you're right. I think there's an argument for that. I mean, but then also Matt had a label maker print out labels to stick on his guitars to tell him what these switches do, because apparently he can't remember what these things do.
I don't get that.
Maybe it's a convenience thing, but I think you're right with the Liquid Foot. Yeah. With the Liquid Foot one, the screens are really quite small, and I think it's as though they're made for when you're setting up or you're building these patches, or they haven't been well thought through to right. It's going to be someone who is, X amount of centimeters tall, and in a poorly lit stage. Are they really going to be able to see it? No, I don't think it's been.
Yeah, probably not.
That well thought out. From an ergonomic standpoint, the RJM stuff has a better readout with brighter coloured lights on.
Much brighter. Those are the sort of LCD screens that would actually be useful, I feel, because you can actually see that. I don't own one, but I've seen one obviously at a guitar. That was what's it called? ADE? Is that it? Or is it? No, that's the DJ one, isn't it? I can't remember. Anyway, one of those guitar conventions or something that they do. I went to one in London and I got to see a GT22. And the LCDs are in person are very, very bright and actually quite high res for something that's just so simple. It's only got to display one thing. They're actually quite high res, and it's very clear and it's very bold. and it's very bright and in your face. So, you with that brightness as well, it allows you just to. I mean, I'm getting a bit techie here, but it allows you to kind of have the base color and turn it down a little bit, and then when it's engaged, it really turns the brightness up. So you can not only see your patterns, to say you wanted, like Matt has, like the amps in blue and then the effects in purple. You can, it will just make that purple a lot brighter, so you can categorize things but also have the indication of when they're on or off, you know?
I think that level of dynamic range is really important. So at a glance, I think it's designed for it not to be stared at. I think it's more of like, quickly look down, what color do I need to put my foot on, boom.
Exactly.
I could see the argument for the high res aspect of that, the just for that dynamic range and just kind of ease of use and so on.
And I think, while we're on the subject of the foot controller as well, I mean, one thing to note is that his pedalboard, although the MIDI controller has changed, the kind of the layout of at least the amps has really remained the same. It's generally it generally goes sort of Marshall, AC30, and then Diesel, which would have been the Black Holes tour. And then they've kind of, although they've swapped around a little bit because he's added more amps and things, and obviously on this tour he's added Kempers, which offers way more flexibility in amps. But he's kind of maintained the same order, which kind of brings me back to that thing of like, this new technology is great, but I want to have a feeling of feeling at home with like your pedalboard, like you still know where everything is, and I think that's obviously been important for him,
So I'm just going to put something over the top of the screen for when you say that. When you see it, you'll understand.
Will I?
Yeah. Oh, I hope so.
I just don't get the joke.
Well, no.
I go, what's that?
It's a Simpsons reference.
Oh, okay.
Okay, right. It's man shouts at cloud. Do you know that one?
I think so. Yeah.
Good. It's just Grandpa Simpson just shouting at cloud. I think that's how I'm going to categorize you. Just getting angry at this new technology. But that's not me saying I don't agree with you. I do agree with you. I think it's just funny that it's good that we laugh at ourselves.
That's the thing, though, is I love technology, but I also don't like aspects of it. Like I'm like one of those guys that just upgrades his tech every year. And it costs me a pretty penny, and it's a horrible addiction to have. I've been to many AA meetings for technology. TT meetings or whatever.
Hi, my name's Josh. I'm absolutely addicted to new and improved Bluetooth technology.
Yeah, I just can't stop upgrading my iPhone every year. Apple have got me. I can't get out.
How many subscription services have you got? Runs.
But that's the problem. There's they draw you in, don't they? Because they separate films now. You've got Disney Plus, you've got Netflix, Amazon Prime, and whenever you look up a film, you go, "Oh, it's not on Netflix.
It's not on any of them."
And it's not on Netflix. It's not on Amazon Prime. It's not on Disney Plus. It's on none of them. And then it will be on some weird American thing, but it's on Peacock if you want that. And I was like, great, I'll get my VPN out.
Great, it's on Peacock, whatever that is.
Whatever that is. I mean, people in America will be going, how do you not know?
Yeah.
If you haven't told by now, we are in the UK, so we have things like Sky TV, which costs a fortune.
Yeah. Well, there's things like ITVX, which is free.
Oh yeah, we love that, and also ITV. Just bang a few more ads in there. We just can't get enough of them at the moment.
Love ads, but that's where iPlayer comes in. Love the BBC.
Yeah. Exactly. At least we don't get that, but then we do pay for TV license. So
yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair. Anyway,
they haven't done an Amazon Prime where you have to pay for the subscription, but you'll still get ads.
Yeah, I'm going to say that we stop there, otherwise this just kind of goes off topic.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we've got so where are we at? We've got the Bigfoot controller. What about do we need to mention the little one? It's just it's
The little
slight
one.
progression
The little one is,
of MIDI controller technology.
yeah. The little one is just purely an extension of his the other large unit. So yeah, it's just more effects on there. I think it's not really the presets. I doubt it. Like at the bottom, I think it's more the fact of, because he's got an Axe effects in there now, because he's got a Kemper, he's got way more amps and he's got way more effects now to play with. And there was a lot more effects that were used. Do you know what I mean? This was the real first tool that he actually used a wah, like on Panic Station. I say, he used a wah properly.
Well, in the studio, used it a little bit live, but then that wah lick for Panic Station was then just handed over to Morgan.
Dropped. Yeah, it was dropped. Yeah. So, but then there was all things like there was an auto wah on there that was used like during.
Yes, that's where he used it for.
Yeah, during Supremacy, for example, there was one used on there. I think it's right at the end. You can hear it on the riff. But again, I think that was dropped as well, because I think he's doing that thing where they start off with a certain set effects, and he goes, actually, I don't really like that. We'll try it, but I don't really like that. Maybe swap it for something else.
Yeah,
that's like similar to like the phaser effect, the flanger effect that was used on the last riff of Psycho. And he used to have the flanger on there, and then they kind of got rid of it, and he's like, I don't really like that.
And actually, they used that flanger effect on the Chaos Pad solo for Supermassive.
Yeah, exactly.
That was there for a bit, and then got dropped out. I think that was this tour.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah,
maybe the previous one in Resistance. I don't know, but yeah, there is definitely stuff comes in and out.
Yeah, 100%. But other than that, we got two expression pedals, which are the Boss ones, which were used on the last tour as well. So they would have carried over from the Resistance, and as we mentioned as well, he still uses those same Boss pedals today, and I think we all agree that they're really well made and solid units, I think, as we said in the last video. So if you're thinking of getting one, then there's no question about it, go for it.
I have one. I couldn't speak highly of them more. They're really good, solid, great, much better than the ball ones.
My only regret is that I bought three when I only needed two, because they're so well made that I didn't need the third one.
No,
it's never broken, never had a problem with it. So
I find it quite funny that he actually does need to have two, because one's for volume, one's for pitch, and I have one of these, and I get that to do both, because it's expression out, but then also left and right out. Whereas, and they are two very different things. Like, so it
money.
It's just
money, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but then it must mean, I think, that that the Liquid Foot control doesn't have like a volume in and out return send thing. It's just like expression in, and maybe through expression it's then doing volume, whereas I use the Boss ES8, which has a volume return and expression in, so I can use one expression pedal as a volume and as a pitch control. I could use it for
you just assign it.
It's just an assignment tool, and they source that information, because that's essentially what it is, as a different thing.
Exactly. And then as far as the pedalboard concerned, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and there was the hold switch as well, which was still on there, which this time it's not like on the Resistance, the Resistance tool. It's not I know it's not actually like activating a loop where the reverb pedal would have been when he holds down the switch. This time it's just being programmed to most likely the Axe effects, but it's still got the same function. So you just hold it down, you get this huge wash of reverb that will just ring out until you take your foot off the switch, really. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the pedal board. One thing I did want to mention as well is because we haven't got any actual amps on this tour, so I did want to say it now because I think we missed it on the last video, but I think we missed out the Dickinson amp,
Oh yeah,
which was just a
which is just the
stage prop.
the prop in the same way that he'd used the 4x12 Marshall cabs on stage. They're not an amp
Yeah,
that you're hearing. It is just a prop. He does
it's
get
just a
feedback
prop.
from it, like the monitor engineer will turn that up, or
So
whenever he gets close to it, just so that he can play around with it and get that feedback. He did use it in the studio, but he didn't. It isn't what's being used live. Yeah, just a
yeah,
prop.
yeah. I mean, because I think although it wasn't used, it became such a. It's when I think of Muse, I do think of the Dickinson amp, especially for that era, because it's like every video you used to see it in. It's always Matt Bellamy spinning it round and or pushing it off its tripod
Mm,
stand, and I think it's just for me, personally, around that era. It's definitely like an iconic piece of equipment, even though it wasn't used for its sound. It was just, as you say, a stage prop. It's something definitely to mention because I think it was cool. And then he did the spotlight thing because it's obviously it's cladded in aircraft aluminium, isn't it?
yeah.
So he used to shine the spotlight onto the crowd with it. So I think it became like a pretty big thing like around that tour, and he used it all the way through to I think it was at the end of this tour.
Yeah, it did. It
Whereas
survived
when
up
he's
until Then he went back to using Marshall stacks on stage
yeah,
as a
exactly.
prop. Yeah, it was good for crowd work because it reflected to the audience, and that was fun. There's a clip somewhere of him doing that, like to
Yeah,
the left and right of the audience.
insert clip here.
Insert clip it. I'm gonna
We'll
see if I
we'll
can.
find it. We'll
I'll
find
see
it.
if I can find that. You carry on.
Um, and then so yeah, we move on to the rig pretty much. So we'll go up from left to right as usual on the rig. So we've got the first unit in there, which is the Axfx 2, which was added to for the first time to his rig, and has been upgraded, obviously, for the later tours, but has remained in the rig since then. This particular one is the Axe. I think he started. I might be wrong about this, but I think he started off with the Axfx 2 and then he moved up to the one. Was it the Axfx 2? There's like I can't remember the name of it. There's a version above it, which just has a little bit more processing power.
Oh,
Um, I'm sure you can. I'm sure you'll probably insert the name
yeah.
of it,
Let
but
me see if I can find it. It's putting pressure on me. Axe effects two. Oh god, Turbo XL.
I think Turbo was the 3, wasn't it? Oh, XL. That's
X
it.
XL plus.
XL. Yeah. So I think he started off with the original Axfx 2, and then he moved on to the Axfx 2 XL for I think it was the drones tour. But when we come onto the drones tour, I'll double check to make sure that is correct.
Right.
Um,
I will just get my image of that ready for the edit. Because I want to see what's the visual difference between the 2 and the XL.
yeah, I don't think there's any visual difference. I think it's literally just processing power because they
No,
always
no, there is.
is
Oh wait.
there.
No. I think the image that I've found, it's the same. The only thing that's different is that obviously on the front of it the label says XFX2 XL, whereas the XFX2 just says XFX2. Yeah,
Well,
no meaningful visual difference I can see.
yeah, I think it's just because they do release they normally release the base version and they'll release a version that has just more processing power, perhaps. Yeah,
So what is the point in
if you
buying the
need it.
basic one?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, just another reason to get you to buy an upgrade, I suppose.
Get your
But
wallet out for the lads.
get your wallet out. Yeah. But in terms of like the effects that we used on this unit, There's quite a few. So he would use this for it replaced a hell of a lot of pedals that would have been in the rig on the prior tour. So you can obviously see visually, just looking at the rig, how little physical pedals there are actually in this, and that's because the Axe Effects has taken over the job of that. So
Grammatically, you mean fewer.
Sorry, what did I say?
You said little.
Yeah.
I'm just splitting hairs. I'm not really a grammar what so and so. I just wanted to be funny.
Clearly, I'm not.
Worth it. Worth it. Yes, it's you Southerners. You're all just you're all the same.
Yeah, I know we're all the same, aren't we? But it was used for like so you got compressors. I think it was a phaser that was used in there, flanger. There was the wah effect that was used in there. There's the auto wah as well, which seemed to replace because there was a lot of songs where he used to use the phaser, and then he started to use the auto wah, which is obviously two completely different effects, but it's the auto wah obviously has a way more kind of aggressive sound to it, which he did use in a couple of songs. Like we mentioned, he did use it during Supremacy. He played the riff, I think, for however many bars, and then it sort of switched to this auto wah sound. If you want to see it, I think you'd be able to see it on the iTunes Festival gig.
So that's pretty early on, not the Roundhouse one, because that was the very first one, but the iTunes one was pretty early on.
I think it was the Roundhouse, actually. I think it was the Roundhouse.
All right, so the very first
iTunes
show
Festival.
of the tour.
Yeah,
Exactly. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
iTunes was because in my mind it's just the Roundhouse gig.
Yeah, no, I think it's the same thing.
Oh wait, no, yeah, iTunes Festival. Yes, actually, it also wasn't the first show of the year. Obviously, the Olympic show won.
Yeah,
there were a number of TV promo appearances for playing Madness. Follow Me, Sign of the Times. Great cover, by the way. Sign of the Times, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that was incredible. That cover, I listened to that a lot.
There's then on the 20th of September there was the first full gig in Cologne, Germany. Debut of the 7-string. For some reason I just thought the Roundhouse was the first show. Silly me.
Well, I guess it was probably maybe the first proper gig that they did in front of an audience. Because, as you say, there was a lot of just televised performances of Madness, and then they had the one at
the random Cologne one. The Air Studios with the second performance of Sign of the Times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the iTunes.
Yeah, exactly. I think, so that's where you can kind of hear a lot of like the earlier effects that we used, which were again they were swapped out as the tour went on. But it's kind of really difficult to say with this unit what exactly he was using for and when it was turned on, because it's going to be harder when it comes to like a compressor or something like that.
I think if it's like a compressor, that's going to be for like more cleaner tones. So I'm going to say with the cleaner guitar tone for Panic Station, pretty much all of Animals, that's going to have a really quite harsh compressor on it. The other stuff, maybe not so much. If it's just like here's distortion, like an overdrive tone, it pretty flattens out the sound anyway. So less need for a compressor. Some aspects.
Yeah, exactly. Someone will have the answers though, because that Axe Effects was sold on the Reverb store. So someone out there has the answer. So if you do, get in touch.
And we know that Muse don't delete their... Send us a spreadsheet, and we know Muse don't delete their data.
Yeah. We've never... whoever bought it has not really... they might just not be on social media, really, but generally a lot of people...
How else would they found out about the sale, though?
I don't know. It was on a few like articles, wasn't it? There was like articles that were written online, so they may have found out from there. I don't know, or they may just not want to participate.
Or maybe imagine if they actually bought it not knowing anything about like the Muse sale and they just bought it for themselves. Imagine
Yeah,
that possible fluke.
got rid of all the presets. Like, what's all this?
Yeah.
Why didn't they reset it out as a factory?
Yeah. And what is this?
Yeah.
I'm going to quickly go through the reverb sale and just see.
Yeah.
Like, what? God, bloody hell! There's so many Kempers.
Yeah, there are. Yeah. Well, I can continue the rig while you
Please
look
do.
through
It's just
that.
for my own curiosity.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Crack on.
I've been through it. I've been through it so many times, I think.
Yeah.
So below the also as I mentioned with the Axe-Fx as well, it was used for reverb and delay as well. There's no dedicated unit for reverb and delay on this tour. So minus the line 6, which would have been used for delay. But there would have been some delays and reverbs in there.
Fun fact, guess how much the Korg DDTR 2000 tuner sold for? Well, fun fact, but trivia.
300 quid?
£112 and 32 pence.
Bargain. I mean, it's worth way more than that just for Muse memorabilia alone, even if you don't use it.
I think so. Anyway, crack on. I just wanted to interject.
No worries. So below the Axe-Fx, we got the Sound Sculpture Switchblade. Obviously, we all know, if you've watched the previous videos, we know what that does. By now, obviously, affects routing. It's in a different. This kind of rig configuration is a little bit different to where it was before, because usually you'd have the all of those effects that were plugged into the Switchblade in the drawer, kind of directly below it. On this toy, it's a slightly different setup. It's obviously due to the Kempers being in the rig, and they're obviously the big toaster version, so they take up quite a bit of space. So it's they obviously have a bit of a rework with the order of effects they've got in there, but it did actually go back to that kind of Black Holes and Revelations layout of the rig after they got the rack mount Kempers in there. But yeah, and then obviously we move on to the Kempers. So he's got 2 in there, and interestingly, in this one was not used for a backup. They were actually used simultaneously at the same time, and that's because on this tour, it was the first tour that he was actually able to blend amps live. So on the prior tours, he was obviously blending DI signals with fuzz, as we know, with the amp sound. But this was the first tour he was actually able to blend 2 amps together because of, again, how technology evolved, and it's obviously made it so you don't have to carry multiple cabs around, because it's not really the amps that's the problem, because you've got to take the amps anyway. If you're taking 3 amps on tour, you're taking 3 amps on tour. The problem is you've got to take 3 cabs on tour, and then work out how to blend them together, and then you get bleed from the mics and all sorts of problems. But with the Kempers, obviously that's not the case, because you've got the cab actually modelled in the profile, and therefore you just take the left and right straight to front of house, and you can quite easily blend them together.
I mean, there would be the argument that the front of house engineer could blend the amps, but that's not very likely, because the front of house engineer has got more to worry about than just your guitar tone. I would never have imagined that the front of house engineer would do this, because
it's more likely. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's more likely that from what I've found, the profiles are set up in a way that they are meant to be used together. So they are already volume balanced, and they're already EQ'd, so they all kind of fit like a puzzle, and work perfectly kind of like in harmony together. So yeah, they're already kind of set up in that way. And then I don't know, maybe front of house might do a little bit of minor tweaking perhaps, but there's no guarantee on that. We don't know.
Yeah, it's not really a tone sculpting job as front of house. It's just to balance all the instruments together.
Exactly. Yeah, just make sure it sounds good for the audience. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So I've got the Kemper profiles. So I didn't buy one of the Kempers. How I got hold of them was there was a guy on Reddit, and I had to really convince him, because he was a little bit wary about giving them out, because he was like, I don't know whether they can be counted as intellectual property, because they've been made by the guy that Muse, and I don't know whether they want me to be putting those out on the internet and stuff like that. So, although it's probably a little bit over the top, I think
that is so
fair
over
enough.
the top. My argument would have been straight to, they didn't factory reset any of these things. It's their fault.
Yeah.
If they,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think they care. I really don't think they care. The amount of money they earn and the amount of things that are on their mind, I don't think Matt Bellamy's sitting at home going, "Oh my God, my Kemper profiles are on the internet."
oh shit,
It's I really doubt he cares. But yeah, eventually through some tough work, I got him to send me over the file. Now, in the file, there's a lot of different presets for different amps. So again, that just complicates things even more, because we wouldn't know what profile is being used on a particular song. Whereas in the Black Holes era, or even the Resistance, if he was using it was going to be one of a few sounds. So it would either be channel 1 through to 4 of the Diesel, or it could be the Marshall or the AC30. Those are your options. Those are your options. Minus obviously the fuzz coming in, but it's kind of quite obvious when you can you can tell when that's being used. Yeah, exactly. It stands out enough to know when it's being used. But with this, you've got so many different profiles, different mic positions, different mics being used, different locations, different years, and also he's added more amps in here. So he used the JTM 45, which we've never seen him use on tour before, but he has mentioned in interviews that he absolutely loves that amp, and he's used it in the studio quite a bit. But this was the first time, although he wasn't using the real thing, that it would have been, the sound of that amp would have been used on tour. Let me see, I just make sure I haven't missed anything, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that really want to know a lot about these profiles, right?
I'm just going to pull an image of a JTM 45 so we can see that on screen.
Yeah, go for it. So yeah, I've also got Chris's profiles in here, which I won't obviously mention because that would be going off topic. But it seems that they
love going off topic.
We do love going off topic, and you know what? I think Chris maybe deserves his own video. If that we could do that at some point down the line. But these videos take a lot of time.
We'll just get Chris on and just be like, Chris, so what about this term? And he just goes, and then we have to wheel his bass tech on. He actually knows how his rig works.
You know what? I'd love to get Chris on, just because he's just such a funny bloke. Like, just hearing his stories and things that he has to say, like he's just a classic English bloke, isn't he? He'd be a great guest to have on if we ever get to that point. We could get him on. That'd be so fun.
Let's do it now, right now. Make a petition. Let's get Chris Wolfenheim on this podcast.
Yeah, Chris, we love you, man. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear everything.
I think of the three of them, Matt, Dom, Chris, I think Chris is the one who is most likely to do it.
Yeah, because I just don't think he's. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he's less busy, but he doesn't usually do like interviews, does he? On TV, he usually walks off, and he's like, probably because he wants to go see his kids. Poor bloke. Like,
he's got like 10 of them. He's
got 10 kids, isn't he? Like,
he's got a parents' evening to go to somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's like, because I remember on Graham Norton, he just walked off. He's just like, I really haven't got time for this. I'm going home.
Yeah.
The Uber's outside. I'm off.
Brilliant.
Let me see if there's anything else that I want to mention here. So, also with these profiles, a lot of them are not just the amp alone. When you're making a profile, you can add obviously an overdrive in front of the amp, and you can profile the whole lot, and that whole thing becomes a profile. So for example, another amp that was added for this tour and was and still used today was the Ampeg V4, which is a bass amp, which has been modified again by Matt Wells, who modified his 1959 hand-wired Marshall. And he modified it to have a more intense mid-range spike, which kind of gives it this kind. It almost sounds muffled, but it sounds more characterized as though it's muffled rather than it just sounding badly EQ'd, for example. It's kind of an intentional sound, if that makes sense. But it's he's got a fuzz pedal running before it, however, because obviously the Ampeg is just going to be it's just going to be a clean amp if you're running any bass or guitar for it. But it's got this. I can't remember what the fuzz pedal was called. I think it was it might have been the Mastertron.
All right, I thought the fuzz head.
Yeah, no, I think it might have been that pedal. I always get the name of it wrong, so I'm really self-conscious to say it. But I think, is it Mastertron? I always get it wrong. But,
or the Mastertron.
Mastertron or something.
No, that's the same thing. I'm just pronouncing it differently.
Mastodon, Mastertron, God knows.
Mastotron. Well, there are two. So there is the Mastertron.
Yeah.
No, it is just the Mastertron. I thought
Mastertron.
Why am I thinking of the Mastodon? What is that? That's a brown one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll just refer to it as the blue pedal that Zevex make.
Yeah, that is the Mastertron.
From now,
that is the Mastertron. Right.
Okay, now we've cleared that up.
God, the prices of those range wildly.
Oh yeah, Zevex now has just hit the roof, isn't it? They must be loving it. So a lot of pedals were being run in front of these amps, which is less common for Matt's amps, but for Chris, obviously, he's using things like animatos and big muffs and stuff like that running into his amps. He's got different levels that they're running in, like animato hot and animato medium, for example. But other than that, though, there's a couple of factory profiles that are also on there that are being used, which is quite interesting. But then again, I say being used, we don't actually know if any of these were used.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of stuff. A load of these may have been put in to play around with and not used after being, struck off the list, auditioned, as it were. Because the Kempers come with these standard sounds to at least get you started from
exactly
somewhere. So there is, in a lot of ways, there's no real guarantee of like these were actively used or continue to be used. I mean, there may have been like a handful of sounds that Matt used at any one time and then brought in and took out amps as they go, but not deleting them, but just changing the MIDI information that called up those presets. How many sounds in there? How many overall actual individual profiles are in there? Are you able to count that?
Oh God, yeah, sure, yeah. Let me see.
So I guess a screenshot of them would be useful as well.
Yeah, I can give you a screenshot. I'm just trying to select all of them to see if it just gives me a number. So it's 331 profiles, but some of those would be Chris's as well. So.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, say 331. Let's just say 200. Let's just that arbitrary number. 300 actually are like guitar ones. I don't know if that's true. How likely is that to be that all of them are being used? No.
Very, very, very unlikely.
Highly unlikely. I mean, like their sets were pretty standardized. I mean, there were times songs that were being used for very, very, very few performances of songs, as we've already covered. Sign of the Times was played twice, maybe 3 times on the tour. One of them was that French show. Another one was at Air Studios, and there was another one, I think it was in Vegas or in the US tour, where they just played it at one of their arena shows. And that was it. That is not going to use a particular, I would imagine. That's not going to use that particular unique amp sound. I think that's just going to go with here is an overdrive sound that he's using or what have you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it comes off as it's going to be a combination of standard amps that come with the Kemper and amps that Matt has brought in with particular sounds, and then they change as the tour went on,
Yeah.
which adds to that complexity of what the hell do we use. So to go back even further, my last point, I promise, Josh, and I'll let you continue. When you mentioned you were trying to wrestle this data from that guy, he was then kind of worried about all the secrets are going to come out. I think they're in safe hands because there's so many of them. It's like an unwieldy behemoth because it's just like
Yeah.
with no way of figuring out what was being used. Because
Absolutely.
yeah, because when you listen to the shows of that era, as I've mentioned before, how that broadcast is being sourced is it from the mixing desk, is it at the source, is it somewhere else, will have a huge effect on how that sound comes out as well.
Certainly. Yeah.
Makes it
Yeah.
more exciting.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I can shed a bit of light on how they were used, and I didn't find this out. I mean, this is just pure experimentation. Like I tried so many different profiles and then blending them together. The truth is, like, I think a lot of people kind of loaded these into their campers, and they kind of expected to get the sounds that he was using on tour. And the main reason why that won't be the case is you're going to need two Kempers, because these, as I said, these are all designed to be blended together, minus a few. So, for example, on the pedal board for drones, I know we're talking about Second Law, but it's the same thing. But essentially what he was doing is you would have buttons that would be labeled Marshall, Diesel, Kemper Fuzz. There was on there. There was Crunch. There was Clean. There was Crunch Low, Crunch High, and then Ampeg as well. Yeah. So what these would be is they would be. It wouldn't be just the diesel on its own. It would be a blend of the diesel and generally another amp. And the diesel was commonly blended with a very, very overdriven AC30 sound. And I mean really overdriven. Like it definitely had a pedal in front of it or something, because it was extremely overdriven AC30.
Yeah, and that checks out because Matt is on record as saying he's a big AC30 fan. I was reading an interview he did around at the time of this of the Resistance tour coming out, so the Resistance tour happening and the album coming out, and he was saying like the basis of his tone is an AC30. And it's things built around it. And so, yeah, the AC30 in the studio is a very core part of his sound, at least in that era. And he then said he doesn't take an AC30 out on the road, like the vintage ones, because they are so high maintenance. You'd be constantly repairing it. It's not practical at all. Hence, in the Resistance tour, he had that device that kind of emulated the Egnator that did the AC30 sound rather than actual AC30.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so generally, yeah, the diesel profile, every time he was using that, it would be blended with this, the AC30 on which it was set up, and it sounds a little bit artificial on its own, because I think they're designed to, they're EQ'd so much that they're designed to kind of just it's meant to add more of a mid-range spike into the diesel rather than it be a standalone AC30 sound. So it has been manipulated quite a bit. So yeah, with that, when I came across that sound, because there's so many AC30 profiles in here, if you blend the two together, you generally get the sounds that is used. Let me give an example. So like the intro to Stockholm Syndrome is that sound. The riff to Psycho, it starts on the Marshall, and then when the whole band kicks in, it switches over to the diesel and the AC30 combined. But yeah, it's all under one button. So every time he hits the diesel button on the pedal board, it's triggering both of those amps to work together. which is the case for a lot of them. So as I mentioned, you've got clean, which is just the AC30 on a clean profile. That's just one profile. And then you've got crunch, low and high, which again are still the AC30, but just at different levels of gain. The Marshall, I'm still working out really, because it sounds to me like it's really just the Marshall on its own. But when they profiled it, I definitely think they've got a pedal in front of it, because the Marshall profile that they've got is really overdriven. If you've got like a standard Marshall Plexi and try to get the sound that's in this Kemper out of that amp, you wouldn't be able to get it alone. So I think there's definitely some form of distortion pedal in the profile that's running before it, although it's not listed. So there's that one, and then you've got the Ampeg. The Ampeg is used, so you'll hear this sound, for example, at the start of the handler. So it's that really kind of like mid-rangey, fuzzy tone. Mm-hmm. So that is the Ampeg B4 with again the Zevex Mastertron before it, and that's blended with the diesel. So you blend those two profiles together. They're meant to work together. But the confusing thing is that it's a different diesel profile. so you've got multiple different iterations of diesels that will be blended with multiple different iterations of Ampeg, for example. So it gets really, really confusing. And if I tried to explain it all on this one video, I think you
wouldn't finish. You just
wouldn't
going.
finish. You just keep going, yeah, because it's really hard to explain on camera as well, because you kind of need to do a screen recording and some sound demos, I think, to kind of really get your point across. But yeah, that's generally how it's working. So if you've got the profiles and you're using them on their own, there's more work to do.
Oh yeah, so much. I mean, it is so not enough to just have them. You need to know how they're being used. You know, as you said, for just the intro of the handler, I reckon there has to be so many instances of this quite complex and rich sound that's being used for one small portion of the song, where it might sound that probably will have a really nice sound to it, something really but used quite sparingly, so it's this great sound and you'd just be drawn to use it for the whole thing. So it's just this minefield, and unless you had the controller, Matt's controller, with it at the same time, where it would call up these sounds at the right section, you don't know exactly what is being used. You could sit down with it for ages and go, right, I'm going to just listen to all these sounds, listen to the live recordings, and just map it up. Maybe you could do that if you have, infinite amount of time and zero personality. Yeah, you could do that. But it's great to have these sets, but these sounds. But are they being used in the exact same way? Very difficult to confirm that, I think.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It's really. I spent a lot of time just trialing profiles, and you kind of you'd start off with Diesel 1 and then go with like Ampeg 1, and then that doesn't work. Let's try it with Ampeg 2 and Ampeg 3, and then you'd have to go that route, and then you'd have to go, right, I don't think it's any of those. Let's try Diesel 2 with Ampeg 1, Ampeg 2, and Ampeg 3. And
I think that's
oh my God,
I think
it goes on forever.
I think that is fun just for you to go, right,
absolutely.
I'm going to find...
It's a lot of work, but it's fun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do. I mean, I regularly play around with my little pedalboard, but I get so much out of it by just, right, what can I throw together? If I had something like that where I could, throw together entire, like, profiled amps to get sounds like this, it'd be so much fun.
100%.
But then what do you
100%. Yeah, exactly. So maybe we do like a sound demo or something like that, perhaps in the future or something. We could do something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. Yeah. because I think me explaining it doesn't really do it justice,
Doesn't
unfortunately.
we
But
need to we should show what is being used, and so I think if we had an entire episode or of like here are some sounds that Josh likes, and you've got some clips of you playing guitar that you can put through these profiles, and if I send you some clips of me playing guitar, you can put these through, so they all start out
yeah,
as clean channels that are then sent to this, and then
yeah, definitely,
you can use this to articulate what is actually being done. So which is great because we start uh, with the same audio clip of, say, it's me playing like the Stockholm Syndrome riff, and you put these through four different profiles to really show how different these things are. And
yeah,
what might help even further is if these sound sort of similar. So if it is, say, Diesel 1 and Ampeg 1, and then have it all as Diesel 1 and Ampeg 1, Ampeg 2, 3, 4, and so on to show just how complex all these things are. I'm not for a moment saying we do all 300 presets. We just cherry pick some nice ones and
exactly,
show how complex this is. I think that'd be interesting.
exactly. No, 100%. I think we should definitely do that. Um, but as far as the Kempers go, I mean, that's really all I've got. I mean, I can provide like obviously a list of all the profiles if anybody wants to sort of see them. Um,
Yeah,
and
hopefully we'll have put a screenshot on screen of like kind of just the sheer
yeah,
number of them in there. But yeah.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's pretty much everything with the Kempers. Also, this would have been the only tool that he would have used the Kempers on their own. So he's using two Kempers and that's it. He did have a Marshall obviously on stage, but it's a stage prop thing, obviously, just
Yep.
for a bit of live feedback, things like that. But yeah, there was no actual physical amps on this tour. On the next tour, he did actually add back in the Diesel VH4 with a real cab as well. But yeah, for this tour, it was just the Kempers on their own. Everything else in the rig, I mean, we've kind of covered a lot of this already if you've seen the previous videos, but we've obviously got the Nord G2 in there for the map of the problematic effect. We've got a few. They're called WIDI boxes. It's those three boxes down there, which are for the Chaos pad in the guitar, which are a lot more reliable than what he was using before. They provide a lot more range. So yeah, they're a lot more reliable for stadium shows and things like that when he's obviously going to be walking out on catwalks and wings and stuff, and the stage is quite large, so it'll stop the signal cutting out. But yeah, I think they were. I can't remember who they're made by, but I know they're called the WIDI.
CMEpro.com.
CME, that was it. That was it. Yeah, and I remember because they're still, I think they're still using those now, but they don't make them anymore because I think his guitar tech Chris was saying that the Wi-Fi strength was way over the legal limit that you can have for these devices. So that's why they were so good.
So they were powerful. But yeah, you'll probably need after a certain, with some broadcasting stuff, you do need a license with it. Like the Shure wireless stuff. Now the off the shelf stuff that you can buy, you don't need a license for. But if you get like the big heavy stuff, then you do need a license for because of just how it broadcasts.
Exactly.
And this stuff may have gone over that. So yeah, in that same interview with Chris, he did say whenever he comes across any of those on secondhand sites, he just buys them up.
Buys them up pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, I think that they're really difficult to find. I don't think I've ever seen one listed online or like on Reverb or anything else like that. They're really hard to come by, probably because he owns them all.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm seeing let's see, one on Amazon. One.
It's probably the new version, isn't it? It's probably because they did make another version of it.
The WIDI jack.
It's something like that. But it was obviously
not the OG
right down.
Yeah. Not the OG stuff. That's just unicorn shit. That is.
yeah. It's not the OG units he's using here, as you say. Yeah. So yeah, those are used for the Chaos Pad, and below
Echo,
that we've
yeah.
got the the Echo Pro Line
Right, yeah.
6, which is it would have been providing a lot of the delay, I would imagine. We've got no data to back it up, but obviously it would have been working in harmony with the Axifex 2 as well, which was provided. I know for a fact it was the Axifex was providing the delay on, for example, Plug-in Baby, on the clean parts where it's got like the octave delay in there,
Mm.
which kind of sounds a bit synth like. So that's a preset in the Axe effects. You can get that sound out of that. So
Yeah, he was getting quite a lot of like a few synthy sounds really in this tour. The ones that stick out, obviously the delay for Plug-in Baby in the verse, Supermassive Black Hole, and also Uprising. Those are
yeah,
the
definitely,
synthy
yeah,
sounds, especially after Black Supermassive was played. There would be like the fucking around outro thing, and
yeah,
using that smaller foot controller, he would then get some really synthy, monophonic synthy sound, which is pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, especially the sound on Uprising, that's definitely because there's just a synth guitar block, which is in the Axe Effects, which
Yep.
I'm dead sure it just came out of that pretty
Yeah,
much. But yeah,
has to be
um,
Axe Effects, that one. Just by
yeah,
just what it sounds like.
yeah, 100%, 100%. And then we've got the Ski Strut MR10. So that's just been pulled out of the old rig. Although I think 10 loops is probably not really that necessary in this rig, because he's got a very limited number of pedals. We got the ZVEX Fuzz Factory in there, the Vector version, Digitech Whammy DT. So this is the first tour he used the DT.
Yeah, this was the year the DT came out, I believe.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
around this
Yeah,
time, yeah, Resistance was still too early for that. So yeah, this was the year that DT came out, and there's also
yeah.
a Whammy 4 or 5 underneath that as well.
Yeah, I think that it looks like a four.
Looks like a 4.
Yeah, I think it because it's also got an old label on it, which I
Yeah,
think was in
from
one of the older
Absolution.
rigs. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it looks like a four. So I think the DT might have been used for a lot of the octave effects that were used on this tour, because there was a real prominent use of Octava.
Oh
I think
yeah,
we love a bit of Octava. It does sound really, really good though, like
such a cool
the
effect.
DT. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Octava as a whole is really, really cool. But the DT does a really great job, I think, of pitch tracking. It's really, really accurate. So
Mm.
yeah, that's probably why he opted to actually have it in there. And then there's of course, the Keeley Fuzzhead, which on it's hard to say really, because I think he was using the Fuzzhead mainly just for the Chaos Pad, because he would run the KP2 through the Fuzzhead to get more of an overdriven sound, and then that would go into the Switchblade and would be a direct output into the front of house. So yeah, but it looks like it's wired up there. Like it might be used for other things, because if it was just used for the Chaos Pad, I'm sure there's no reason why they couldn't just put it behind the Chaos Pad, and it wouldn't need to be in a loop, for example. So it's possible that he was probably using the fuzz head for maybe some DI sounds as well. But everything in that top pedal drawer, would have been, and the bottom pedal drawer as well, would have been plugged into the Switchblade as well. So yeah, I don't really think there was a need for the MR10 by Ski Strut. I think other than the delay, I suppose, but everything else in there is really plugged into the Switchblade, and the Switchblade is in a loop on the MR10. So it's not really too necessary to have 10 loops in there, because they're probably only using maybe, 3 or 4
Well, yeah,
maybe.
well, from the pedals that we can see, there's 5 of them. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's possible that there's other pedals above that on the tray that you just can't see.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah. Yeah, we
I
did.
mean, it's possible. I mean, what also could have been done is that you can plug like the Echo Pro into that ski strut as well, because it's just it's an in and
Yeah.
out, and a loopers just need an in and out.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I think they would have just kept it in probably just I mean, it's not like as we always say that it's not like they're trying to save money or anything. So
No,
I
it's
think they
just, well,
probably would
yeah,
have
I think
just
it's he's got this stuff, may as well use it. It's
might as well use it.
right there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the fuzz factory can be used DI, same as the fuzz head, and yeah, we got the whammy DT in there, which can be. I would assume they wouldn't be using that obviously DI, but it would have been either put before or after the amp in some instances, possibly. I don't know why, but it's
Why you put it after amp, I don't know, but yeah, that possibility is there. I mean, yeah, I completely agree with you.
yeah, yeah. And then the bottom drawer, obviously, is, KP2, Chaos Pad, and another Digitech whammy. I think, yeah, as we said, we think that's a Digitech whammy 4. So that's pretty much the rig. Very, very, very simplified because you've got the act specs in there now, and there's no need for all these phasers, flanges, and compressors and different things like that because it's such a versatile unit, you know. But the act specs wasn't used for any amp simulation at this time.
It's just effects processing.
Yeah, that was confirmed. Yeah, it's just purely there for effects, and then the Kempers would do the amp modeling. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's certainly a lot more compact than it was coming from the Resistance, which was pretty crazy. Because this is just, you know, it's just all in this one rack. You know, they have no need to take another separate rack of amps. So it's just all in this one unit.
I think coming off of that, I mean, because I recently read this interview from around on the promotion, the release of the Resistance, and it was all about his gear, and he was describing what the process was to, you know, going into the studio to record this, and he'd said that over the time of the course of the Black Holes tour, he'd tweaked the rig so much he had the sound, so he just basically rocked up to the studio with like, here is everything. And I think that contributed to the whole, like, you know, there's just so much stuff on the Resistance tour, it seems like things just like slapped on.
Yeah,
I'd argue. Whereas the Second Law rig, whilst it does not sound as good as previous rigs, is a lot more streamlined. You know, to get away from that, I'm then going to make a direct comparison to how Chris has his rig. That is just piling stuff on, bolting stuff on, rather than stripping it down to like, right, let's get something ergonomic and something that's going to work.
Exactly, yeah. This is more of a rig of like, right, you know, let's sit down, write down what you need, rather than things you like to have because you might need them. Because, you know, again, I mean, having the MR10 in there probably actually does make sense, because if they need to add in a certain pedal because they're not, right, I'm going to play, they never did, but if they said, right, we're going to play MK Ultra tonight, we need a blue box, right? We've got a blue box, you know, we'll plug it in, we'll put that in a loop, and then we'll just assign it for this one show. But there's no need to, you know, carry every single pedal that we might need when it's not, most of the time you're not going to be using it. Yeah. It really does simplify the rig right down, especially considering the Kempers as well were always loaded with either Chris or Matt's profiles. So they would just have a bunch of Kempers, and it didn't really matter which one they were putting in because they had the same profiles on them. There was also Morgan's profiles on these Kempers as well.
Oh wow!
So it was just all about simplicity, I think, for these rigs, and just cutting the fat, really. But still, I mean, for what it did, I mean, it didn't sound as good yet, but in terms of simplicity and how it works, it was pretty good for a touring rig.
I think
a lot more efficient.
Yeah, I think as a piece of logistics work, I think it was very good. What's going to work? Here's a absolute bucket load of stuff in terms of sounds that we can get. Here they are.
Yeah.
Right, you know, I think it's more of a quantity over quality thing, even though it's pretty. There's not a lot of stuff in there, but the capability, yeah. But if we think back to the messiness, it's not really that messy as the Black Holes rig.
Yeah,
that had definite limitations, like no amp blending. It was here was an amp and here was the other one, or here was the third one, but not all at the same time. But there was a hell of a lot more iconic tones from there. There was a hell of a lot more creativity from there, because I am a big believer in necessity is a great tool for getting something out of there. Definitely. And having those limitations to work around inspires creativity, rather than here is 2 amps that have got 300 amps in them. You can have them in any combination you want. I think you're then going to be like overcome with options. It's going to be paralyzing in a way, and you go, there's just too many to choose from. We've got too many to choose from to actually have the time to listen to them to see what they sound like. This is just my view. This is just my gut feeling. I've got no evidence to back it up, but this is just how I would feel. So much to choose from. I don't know where to start, and then I'll just quickly gravitate towards 5 sounds based possibly just on the name alone. Is this a diesel type sound? Yes. Well, I like the diesel. I'm going to stick with that. Or a Vox sound, or you just want to have a nice bright clean, like really bright, because on its own it sounds great, and then a punchy, crunchy sound, and then a big distortion one, but they may not all sound great together, and then you just stuck with it, rather than the Black Holes one, which is the diesel, which is 4 channels, so you got 4 sounds from there, the Marshall, which is just 1 sound, and the Vox, which is just 1 sound. And then from there, that's 6 sounds that you can you get from there, and you want like a bright clean, or kind of a simpler, less bright clean, where to go with that. You got some pedals on top of that, and there's all sorts of weird combinations that you can get with that. Pretty straightforward. And the loopers switch, the loopers that Matt uses allows you to put them in like series or parallel, and you can get get crazy with it. And then with the second Law Tour, it feels sterile, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. It does, yeah. Unfortunately, it does have that sound. I mean, I remember when I first heard it, which it would have been the Air Studios gig where they did I think maybe 5 songs. Yeah, that's the one. Let
me get that show up. I liked that one because I liked that. I liked the fact that they did that cover for Sound of the Times. It was very interesting, and like the riff, I liked it mostly for the riff tuned down.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah. To a C.
Yeah, down to C. It's not drop C because everything else is in standard, but just that E to C. It's quite a Muse thing, I think. It's really cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it does. It sounds really, really good. Really good.
Madness, Uprising, Follow Me, Panic Station, Sound of the Times, and Starlight. A weird set list, I think. But
definitely, yeah. I mean, I think like the amps sounded like they sounded very different, and you could certainly tell that it wasn't real amps, and you could tell that it was a big departure from the Resistance and Black Holes and further back from there. You could tell it's not a real amp being used on stage, and it's I don't want to say that the sounds are bad necessarily. They're just different, and it's a more of a fake kind of guitar sound really coming out of them, rather than something that's just trying to imitate a real amp, which is that's the thing that confuses me really, because Kempers, there's plenty of videos out there, you can see them running back to back. Here's the real amp, here's the Kemper, and the difference is really, really minimal. In fact, there's some cases where guitarists who've been playing for 30 years can't tell the difference, or they think the Kemper sounds better in some videos. And these are these are not like product sponsored videos. These are like non-biased people that just want to find out, is the Kemper as good as they say it is? And the truth is it is, but I think it's how they're kind of using it on this tour, because the sound, I've seen the profiles, and the profiles are so heavily manipulated. Like if you turn the EQ on a Kemper, it's not going to act like
the
if
real
I turn
EQ
the
circuit of
yeah,
that amp. It's an
exactly.
after the
It's
fact
different.
EQ. It's like it's oh
Well, it's like I always look at it as like it's like if you recorded a Diesel VH4, for example, and then you went into Logic Pro and brought up the parametric EQ and then started to dial it in from there. That's what you're doing.
yes.
You're EQing, but you're not EQing from the amp. When you EQ from the amp, it changes the character because it's hitting tubes and different things. So
Yes, that's it. Yeah, the EQing a pre-existing a guitar that's already been recorded. All of the information
yeah,
is there. You can only take away stuff. Adding isn't a thing. You're just boosting stuff that's already there. It's not fundamentally
yeah,
changing the sound. So
exactly. Yeah,
it's always a downhill struggle. Even if you are going to boost stuff up, you are going to retain. You are going to boost that hiss or that fizz.
exactly, exactly.
It's a
And
fundamental. It's a very simple concept to get behind, but because it's so fundamental, it's just that limiting. I'm not really much of a fan of profilers like Kemper's, and in recent years, Kemper's really lost support from the community, and the XFX 3 has kind of come across now. But that's just how technology changes, and whether that's just through the marketing of it or just new technology has come out that people like a lot more, I don't know. But I
yeah,
I keep going on and on and on about how my amp lives inside my laptop. That's just purely for convenience. But there are some physical amps that I do really like the sound of.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's like you mentioned their convenience as well. I mean, like the thing is like if you buy a Kemper, I think a lot of people that buy Kempers are buying them for the wrong reason because they're buying them thinking I have no amps, you know, or I have, or they're coming from, you know, like their first, you know, PV amp that they've had since they were 10 or something. Do you know what I mean? They're like, if I get this, I get all the amps. And well, yeah, you do, but you get profiles that other people have done. And those profiles are made with specific cabs, specific mics, in a specific room. And you can't change that. You can't, it's not like an Axe Effects or a plugin that you'd get on the computer, right? Where you can, if you change the EQ, it's been modeled to simulate what that change would be like on the real amp. If you drive the mid-range up, the amp is programmed to react the same in a plugin or in the Axe Effects. And I think that's kind of where Kemper has really hit its limitation because they've always said we're all about profiling. We don't do modeling. We never will do modeling. It's all about profiling. I think that's their downfall now because that's if that's only convenient if I have a wall of amps, right? And I go, right, I've got all these lovely amps. I can dial in the settings and I can profile them and they will sound relatively the same. That's true. But I need to have all those amps in the first place. And if I have all the amps, why would I buy a Kemper to profile them if I'm not a touring musician that needs convenience?
Yeah, Kempers are a convenience for touring musicians.
Yeah,
In the studio is I think that the studio is the last place a Kemper wants to be
yeah,
because you are so under the microscope in there. There is nowhere to hide. I think I said in the last episode with Kempers, and I heard back to backs or like people saying who they'd had back to backs from the real thing and then the Kempered version. There's so much loss of the high end, like that nice little fizz. With
yeah.
Marshalls, a fizz is quite distinct for those Marshalls, and you lose that because of how the sound is being
You do,
sampled. And that right,
you do.
that's the absolute like silver bullet for Kempers. It's not capturing the entire thing; it's capturing the vast majority of the sound. But you can't change the fundamentals of that sound. It is here is this amp on this sound in this particular time and day in this bit,
Yeah,
and that's
it's not dynamic enough. That's the problem with the Kemper is it's too rigid. And for that, I'm surprised that they have it has become such a widely used guitar product amongst the guitar community and bass community as well, because it is so rigid. It is just, it's why would you, I know the Kemper is obviously a lot cheaper now, but why would you buy one when you could buy an Axe or buy a plug-in on the computer, which would be much cheaper, and you can get more creative with the sounds because you're using something that's designed to work like the real amp, rather than you downloading profiles from random people on the internet, and who these there's no, just because you downloaded it from the Kemper community, it doesn't mean that these guys are pro recorders. All they've done is mic'd up their amp in their bedroom or something and posted it online. That doesn't make a great profile, be honest, because it's about room, it's about the mic and how you position the mic.
Absolutely.
You need a professional to do that.
Completely. If you take it to, let's go to a different example, but it absolutely captures the same thing that you're talking about. Yamaha, with their P range of keyboards, their P is for, like, you know, practice or the beginner type ones. It's very much on the low end. All of them have a sampled, oh bugger, what is the name? It's this concert grand piano that Yamaha have. For the life of me, that the name of it has completely gone, but I'm going to...
I know the one you're thinking of as well. Yeah, I can't think of the name of it. But it's
CFX, right? That is Yamaha's flagship concert grand piano. Like thousands of pounds. They put that sound in their P series of keyboards. They have an engineer who would come in, set up all sorts of mics in a really perfect, appropriate room, big studio, and just, you know, go through all the keys, choose the right mics, and they put that in their piano. But you're playing this, you know, £200-400 little digital keyboard, but you're getting this concert grand sound out of it. Is it the real thing? No, but they can do this because they have the ability to have access to this instrument and record it and profile it properly. Someone who's just got a Kemper and just knocks through their sound, they won't know all the subtleties that you need to do. They may not know good microphone techniques. They might only have an SM57, which is a great microphone, but it is not, like, you know, the be all end all of it. Yes, what was it? That Van Halen album was recorded entirely on SM57s, but it doesn't have great low end response. For the 80s, that's fine. But are you capturing all the sounds that this amp is putting out? No, you're not. How far away is the mic from the cab? Is it this close, you know, an inch, or is it, you know, further away? When you're profiling stuff, you want to capture all of these things so that you have, you know, 20 options for mic position, let alone mic choice. And I think that's part of the trap that Kemper profilers have, because it gives you that choice paralysis of, like, how far do you go? And to answer your question, or to address what you put out there of why do people go for it? It's an expensive doorstop, I think, because it's marketed as every amp in the world in one box. That sounds so inviting. That sounds great, because you can then just go through them all and go, great. It's like, it's one up from, like, an amp modeler, you know, where you've got all these amps, these legally nondescript amps. You know, like they'll call the orange amp the purple or something like that. And all these amps are in there, and that sounds great, but is it practical? Do they actually sound right? Many of these people have never heard properly a Vox AC30, a JTM 45, as you mentioned earlier, is an amp that Matt likes. Do a lot of these people know exactly what they sound like? And that is, they might have heard them in live or in a record, but all sorts of EQ, all sorts of compression, all sorts of effects could have been put over them so that they've changed. Does anyone know what these amps sound naked? And Kemper profile is not the great way to do it. The best way for you to hear what a 45 sounds like is to get your hands on one.
Yeah, exactly. And I 100% agree. And the thing is, like, I mean, I think if people are watching, they think, oh, maybe I hate Kemper. I don't. I have two of them, and I bought two of them because I wanted to try out these profiles. I had one years ago. I bought it, and I was disappointed because of this exact reason that we're talking about now. I wanted the flexibility. I bought the wrong product. I sold it a year later. I bought an Axefex and I never looked back, and I still have one now. But I have the Kempers mainly because the Kempers are now really quite cheap. I mean, they were about 1,300 when I bought them when they first came out. They're now about, you can find one online for about 500 quid in pretty good nick. Yeah. And so I just bought them to test these profiles, and I suppose once, if I ever get bored of that, I mean, I'd probably sell them on or something like that, because I don't have really another use for them. I don't. And the thing about the Axefex is that I can. It's night and day for me personally. There'll be people watching this that will go, "He's talking crap," but I know what I like, and I remember.
Man, shout out Cloud.
I was in a cover band when I was 16, and we were doing a Catfish and the Bottlemen cover. And I looked up what guitar amps the guitarist was using, which was Johnny Bond, and he was using a JCM 800. And I thought, well, that's a good place to start, isn't it? I tell you what, I'll get the JCM 800 up on the Kemper. And I just wasn't happy. I just thought, well, I know I've heard videos. Granted, I've never played a real one, but I've heard videos, and this just doesn't sound anything like it. I plugged into, and I tried, tweaking the EQ and everything. It just doesn't make a difference. But as soon as I bought literally the base model Axefex at the time, which would have been, well, it wasn't. It was a one-up. It was an Axefex Ultra. I plugged straight into it. I put the JCM 800 profile in it. I didn't touch the settings, and instantly I was like, wow, that is so much better. Because the profile I was probably using was made by someone who has no idea how to record amps. And the truth is that the Axefex, for years, has been literally boffins sitting in an office, going through amps and tweaking every little last detail to try and get these amps to sound, but not only sound, react the same way as the real one would. If you put a pedal before it in the put a pedal before the Axefex, before the JCM 800 profile, is the model going to react the same as if you put that pedal before a real JCM 800? That's what they're trying to achieve. So they're in control of their own product. Kemper, at this point, has completely lost control of their own product.
Yep.
Because it's up to you. They've designed it because it's up to you how to profile your own amps.
Yeah, it's essentially like Kemper turned into like an open source community. Yeah, open source community. Whereas the Axefex is, we'll handle it. Here is a product that will work for you, that you have to, that you don't have to tweak. Here it is. Whereas Kemper's turned into like a patchwork of people, modeling amps and not doing it right, and then you're right. Here is this sound. Don't put anything on top of it, for Christ's sake. But here, this is one sound of one amp. How good is it? Not very. I've got absolutely, for pure convenience, I've got nothing against like Kempers, but there are better products out there for doing it. Axefex is the way to go. I'm a big fan of amps in a laptop because they're made by, before I was using the Blackstar St. James plugin, and I thought that was great because that's made by Blackstar. I had spent a lot of time with the actual proper St. James amp, and then had the chance with the digital version. I thought the one in the laptop, the plug-in version, I thought that's great, good sound, a good basis to then put pedals on top of. Loved it. And then got the Diesel VH4 kind of amp plug-in, and was really blown away by it. It's really, really good. You can tell there's been a lot of time spent on getting it sounding right. Whereas, because Kemper is just anyone can upload anything, it's a minefield of absolutely anything, and it's like the Wild West, and that's just not good.
It is, it's just not the product itself. It's just that I think a lot of people, are buying the the wrong product for their needs. And I think it's changed now because there's so much more options. You know what I mean? The Axe-Fx is really, really good, and it is king of the hill if you want loads of amps in a box and you want to imitate perhaps loads of different artists' sounds and play around. And for me, it's perfect for that reason. But you know, it's also extremely expensive. But you know, I'm not saying this next unit is cheap by any means, but you could also go for the what's it called? It's like the little pedal now, the Cortex. Sorry.
Yep.
Which is a fantastic unit, and again, that's £1,000. But if you can't afford that, you've now got the Line 6 Helix Stadium and things like that. Yeah. And Fender have brought out their own things now.
Yeah,
and modelling is the way to go now.
Yeah, Fender's was the Tonemmaster Pro. I do like the Helix range from Line 6, ultimately Yamaha. Yeah. I think that's some really great stuff. I played around. I did a video doing the Helix LT. Loved it. I got a guy from Yamaha I told him the sounds that I wanted. He went away and made these profiles for me, and then when I got my hands on it, that was great. And I thought, oh no, I want to make my own patches. And then it was so easy to do, and it had sorts of like sounds that I wanted to play around with. It did have amp sounds in there, you know, legally nondescript amps and pedals, like their version of the Rat is the Rodent, for example. But it had like the full license, proper Line 6 stuff, so I could get that sweep echo from the DL6. No, the DL4, the Line 6 DL4 delay unit that Matt used, which was then the Echo Pro. That was really, really good, really great user interface, and the Helix Stadium is better than that. Really great stuff. There's all sorts of products out there, I think. But my last point, bullying the Kemper, is that the Kemper says it will solve all your problems. Here it is, but it actually doesn't, and it just leans on, marketing-wise, leans on the whole, you can get every amp is in this. But not enough people question it. And then you got the boffins from Axe-Fx, you know, essentially gatekeeping those sounds. But what you get is really bloody good. I'll shut up now, otherwise I won't stop.
Exactly. I think I mean that is the thing. I think if you want to go sound chasing, if you want to go chasing like some Muse tones, for example, I would. You know, if you want to go for this era, then obviously get the Kemper profiles, get a couple of Kempers, because, you know, if you're willing to play around with it, you probably get the sound because that's what he's using. But if you want to imitate, you know, Black Holes, Absolution, anything like that, you're not going to get it really with the Kemper. You're just not, because you're not in the same room. You'd have a better chance of getting it with an Axe-Fx, but you would have to play around with it, because if you pull up a Diesel VH4 profile, dial in the same settings, it's not going to sound like the Harp DVD, for example, because even if you know he's playing the Diesel at that specific time, these amps are kept in a room underneath the stage or behind the stage that's literally a purpose-made room for guitar cabs. It's like they even put laminate on the floor to make it reverberate correctly. They do this stuff. So unless you profiled this in that exact room or got an impulse response from that exact room, it's going to be very hard. But it is possible, but it will take time.
Absolutely.
It will take time.
Completely. I think we might leave it there, just because otherwise we'll just keep going and going and going. Thank you very much for listening to this particular episode of Two Men Talk About Matt Bellamy's Guitar Rigs. Any final messages from you, Josh?
No, not really. I think, you know, we'll move on to Drones Tour next, but that's kind of like a similar sort of thing. Couple of changes, but let us know if you're enjoying the videos, for sure, and we'll keep them coming.
We'll keep them coming. Well, thank you very much for listening. We'll catch you in the next one. I've been Harry.
I've been Josh,
and thanks for watching.